I'm going to begin, Ron, by asking, I mean, you've always been a director with this kind of inclination just to tell fantastic stories. You're a real kind of storyteller. And obviously Moby Dick is one of the great stories ever written. Is it one that you've always had kind of brewing at the back of your mind that you'd like to bring to the big screen?
I've never wanted to literally remake Moby Dick, but when I found out that there was a real event that had inspired Melville to write Moby Dick, I thought, now that is interesting because it's fresh. Because you get to deal with the sort of the mythology of the whale, bring that to the screen in an intense, authentic way, and surprise the audience, because this story is very different than the Moby Dick story. While some of the themes kind of tend to intersect, it was a great, directing opportunity. I hope people like it.
And I saw sort of similarities in some regards to Apollo 13, and that is a kind of group of men going off onto this voyage, and then obviously vying desperately for survival eventually. Did this feel sort of similar in any way for you? Did you take a similar sort of approach?
Well, I identified in the story that they were kind of cousins. That there was something that I connect with, which is individuals being tested in a very extreme way, being forced to sort of change the direction of what it is they're trying to achieve and work even harder to try to get home. And so, yes, there was that. However, the complexity of this movie was actually exceeded Apollo 13. And of course, I think the action there's more of it. It's, it's very cinematic. And I think that the themes are very modern too, and there's a kind of on a human level, surprised me in that way.
And you do seem to be very cautious about making the whale the kind of villain of the piece. It's almost been shot with a sort of a grace and an affection. I was just wondering if that was something that's quite important to you, that this whale was not the villain in any way.
Well, I wouldn't say affection, because he's a fearsome antagonist, but respect for the whale, and I felt that he wasn't a monster in this story, as he was sort of in Moby Dick. He wasn't like the whale or the shark, rather, in Jaws. I felt like he was, to use a movie parallel, a little more like King Kong. He was kind of a force of nature unleashed, and yet this really happened, and that's the shocker of it. And it was great to stage those scenes, really challenging, but when the whale attacked, and it was pretty much as described by the eyewitnesses.
And I've read that you're a little sort of frightened of the ocean, or have been. Has that been eased at all with this endeavour, or enhanced?
Neutral. It's neutral. I mean, every time you face a fear and you survive, I think you neutralize it a little bit. The first one, honestly, was Splash. Very different tone of a movie, but I had to spend a lot of time not only on the water telling that mermaid comedy, but also underwater shooting. And I actually entered that movie with a borderline phobia about the ocean. And so that was the big breakthrough.
So just finally, of course, there's this sort of Beatles documentary that you're sort of heavily involved in. I was wondering how that one's coming along, and assuming you're a big fan, who's your favourite Beatle and what's your favourite Beatles song?
I would never say who my favourite Beatle is, although it's a great honour to get to interview Sir Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr It was really kind of a shocker when I was invited to come on board this project, and it's such a great creative opportunity. Yes, I'm a lifelong fan, not encyclopedic, but in a way I'm doing with the Beatles documentary the same thing I would do with In the Heart of the Sea or Apollo 13 or any of them, which is to sort of look at the facts, look at the individuals involved, find the human interest perspective, the thing that's going to allow audiences to relate to this story, in a kind of a personal way. And I think there are a lot of opportunities with this, although there's been so much done about the Beatles that, of course, it's daunting, but exciting.
Well, there can never be enough about the Beatles, as far as
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey